Carey. The Owls finished their spring practice on April 13th. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call. Well, first, welcome to the American, and if you would give us an overview of how your spring went and what your priorities and focus is as we head through the off season.
Yeah, thanks, guys. No, it's good to be here and good to talk with you guys today. Yeah, spring went good. I said this at the end of spring ball too. I thought we had 14 really productive practices, and the 15th was a great environment. We moved the location. We had downtown in the backdrop of where we were practicing. We had the kid fun zone. We had donor tent, alumni tent, a bunch of people there. Really well attended, and it was a practice for us. It was not a game, and we just didn't have our best day that day, and that's not that can't happen, and it just wasn't good enough on that one. But the other 14, getting away from it for a little bit, the other 14 were certainly a real productive spring practice there.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open the questions for Coach Rod Carey. Hit star 1 on your telephone keypad to join the queue, and the operator will introduce you.
Our next question comes from Mark Narducci with Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hey, Rod. Just wanted to ask you about the running back situation. I know you had told us that Jagger was a little banged up during the spring. Where do you see it at this point coming out of spring practice?
First off, hi, Mark. No, wide open.
How you doing?
Yeah, good. No, I'm doing good. It's wide open is where I see it. I don't think we got enough information on Tyleek or Jagger to really know, can they be productive and how much can they produce and with what reps can they earn and those type of things. We did learn about Kyle Dobbins. I thought he had a good spring, and certainly a few other guys in there, but Dobbins really stood out. He was available most of the spring. The other two weren't, and so we just need to get more information. So I'd go ahead and say it's just wide open.
Do you expect the other two to kind of be able to be healthy enough to make it go good in the fall?
I would hope. That would be my hope. They didn't have any injury that is, like right now, if we practice today, they'd both be on the field. So they're both recovered and ready to go. Yeah, there's no long-term injury there.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
You bet, Mark.
And next will be Chris Vanini with The Athletic.
Hey, Rod. Earlier this week, they announced some rule changes, one of which was essentially getting rid of blindside blocks. Curious your reaction to that.
Yeah, I think anything that we have to stay ahead of this as a football game, and with all of us that are in the game and we're kind of caretakers of the game, we have to stay ahead of all the things that can help the health and safety of our players. And so, and I know there's some purists out there like that, they don't want to see this go and they don't want to see this go and why are we doing this? And believe me, I'm a little bit like that as well, but I also understand the bigger scope of things is that if taking out the blindside block is going to prevent some injuries, then we need to do it. And so, that's what we've done, and overall, that's a good thing.
And there's been a lot of transfer talk. A grad transfer proposal didn't pass. Waivers seem to be more frequently being given out. What are your kind of general thoughts on the state of the transfer situation? Is there anything you would like to see?
Yeah, so, I know that everybody is kind of, and justifiably and rightfully so, talking about the transfer portal and how, we have all these guys in the transfer portal and all this and all that. And it's probably all true, and I don't view it as necessarily a really healthy thing for college football. But I'd like to know the numbers when it was permission to contact. If we could ever quantify that, it might not. It certainly would have been less, but I don't know if it would have been that much less. And now I know we didn't keep track of those stats back then, or if someone did, I never saw them. So the transfer portal's here to stay, and I think we just have to manage through this. And I think the discussion has been healthy from my standpoint, especially going through a transition, is that now you just have a upfront conversation with your guys about, what are your thoughts? What are your things? And then I'm real honest with them too. So I think it's opened up a healthy, kind of honest discussion between player and coach. So that's been one of the positive things. We got a lot to manage, though, because of the APR ramifications, the GSR ramifications, the way we're getting held accountable for those numbers, and now we're not, in control of if someone leaves or not. So we have a lot of things to work through overall, but we need to get there because this isn't going away, like I said earlier.
Well, thanks for the time, Rod.
Yeah, you bet.
And next will be Ronnie Woodward with the Greenville Daily Reflector.
Hey, Coach. Just kind of wondering. I'm sure you might have been asked this up there at some point. But coming from Northern Illinois, do you have any kind of early thoughts on this league, and do you view it as a step up from where you're at, or is it pretty equal, or do you think do anything the same or the different from maybe what you were at, with Northern Illinois?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. It's tough for me really to answer that from the standpoint of I haven't been through a season yet, but I know this team, and watching the league from afar for certainly the last few years here. Excuse me about the cough, but it's absolutely the resources, the commitment level from the resources from the athletic administration support to the presidential support to the board of trustees support, all those things. It's a clear step up in all those things financially and supportive, and that's not in any way, shape, or form to take away from Northern or the MAC, because that's a really fine football league, and was there for a long time, and a real good football team as well. And we have a lot of time spent at that university, so would never disparage them in any way. But from my perspective, you asked, I think it's a clear step up, and I think it's a good step up in all the right ways that we were certainly looking for.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, you bet.
You take one more for Coach Carey, please.
And that'll come from Dan Tortor with wakeupcalldt.com.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just to speak on why this was the right time for you. I mean, obviously you had a lot of success at Northern Illinois, but just what made Temple a good fit for you, and why at this point in your career it was something that you wanted to kind of, open up a new chapter, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I always said two things, that, you're not leaving Northern Illinois. We had a really, really good football program there, and they still do. You're not leaving Northern for something that's worse, and you're not leaving Northern for something to do next. You're at Northern, and if you leave there, you're leaving for something better. And so the timing of everything, was interesting, obviously, with the Manny Diaz thing and all those things. But listen, anytime, and I think this is true of you, Dan, of me, of anybody, that if you're in a job and another employer comes and starts offering you something that your current employer can't, you need to look at that. And that's just the truth to it. That's everybody would, and everybody does. So is there a financial component? Absolutely, there's a financial component, and anybody who says there isn't is lying. But that is certainly not the reason that you make that decision. Because if you're making something just for money alone, then you're going to end up being pretty unhappy pretty quick. So as I got into it, and then you get in and you dig into Temple, where it's located, right in Philadelphia with unbelievable facilities. We play at the Link, and then you're talking about all the people around here with the recruiting, just was absolutely very attractive to me. And then the type of kid that we're recruiting here and that is here at Temple, I enjoy being around. And just a hard-working, blue-collar attitude that is very prevalent, and that's kind of what our university is too. And I just, quite frankly, I fell in love with that.
And Temple's had some success, but they've also had a lot of turnover recently. Just what you can say about maybe trying to bring some stability to Temple now.
Yeah, well, I think you look at my track record, right? Not a lot of guys stay in the MAC for 6 years, and there were certainly other people at other times that had interest, and just didn't feel like I had that same interest coming back with them. So first off, his track record, and second thing, I told Pat, I said, but whatever buyout you need to put on, I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is being here and being present and, really sinking my teeth into here. So I think track record, and then, like I said earlier, you don't leave Northern to take Temple to get something else. You're leaving Northern, which is a really good place, for something better, and it's here. So that's how I view that.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. Welcome to the league.
Hey, appreciate it.
Coach, thank you as well. I appreciate you giving us a few minutes this morning, and look forward to meeting in person in July in Newport.